Hello and welcome to the Unnamed Automotive Podcast. My name is Sami Hajjasad, and with me, as always, is my good friend and fellow automotive journalist, Benjamin Hunting. Say hi to the people, Ben.
Greetings, corporeal and non-corporeal listeners.
Indeed, greetings to everyone. If this is the first time you're listening to our show, thank you for trying something new. I will reiterate, Ben and I are a pair of automotive journalists, but more important than that, we're extremely good friends. Such good friends that... I'm struggling to quantify.
Yeah, you've really built it up, and now you have to find a suitable simile that will match your enthusiasm.
Well, we're going to see each other real soon in a couple of weeks, in like a week and a half.
I hope so. Fingers crossed.
Assuming nothing goes wrong, we will see. Ben will also be making more of the trip, as always. He does. He goes the further half.
Sami doesn't leave Ontario unless he's in an airplane.
Yes.
And the airplane never lands in Quebec.
And even if it did, I'm still as far away from you there than I am as I am now.
I don't know what that means. But there is an airport. There is an airport literally 25 minutes from my house. Me
too. No one's ever flying to Hamilton, Ontario.
Is there an airport in Hamilton?
Yeah, and they fly. I'm flying on a sick airplane this week.
Tell me more.
It's called the Canso.
Okay.
It's a flying boat.
Is that a PBY?
Yeah, I think so.
To the rest of the world, I guess.
I'm so excited about this. This is a gift that my family got me a long time ago.
I have a question for you. Do you get to actually land on water in this plane?
No, we won't.
What?
We will not.
That's a deal breaker. I'm sorry.
Let me get the full thing here because I'm very excited about this. Maybe we'll talk about it more next week. But we have this really cool thing called the Warplane Museum. It's and it shares the runway with the Hamilton Airport.
It's a really aggressive name for a museum.
The Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum. Is that better?
Yeah, when war and heritage are together in the same title, nothing bad can happen.
Anyways, it's a really good way to spend a couple of hours looking at these airplanes, and hopefully on the weekends, a couple of them take off.
Could you somehow generate an emergency that would require them to land on the water?
No, I don't think I should. I don't think the flight is that long. They would just be like, yeah, deal with it.
I think it's pretty cool.
It's very cool. I'm very excited. I also was upset about them not landing on the water, but I think the concern is this airplane is built in 1944.
It had water.
I think you've seen the photo of it when it was acquired by the airport, by the museum.
Yeah, it was in multiple pieces, right?
Yeah, and you're like, you don't want to see this.
It might not be airtight or watertight. So one of those is worse than the other.
Yes, absolutely. Anyway, so I'm gonna be flying in this thing. I'll tell you what it's like next week, very briefly.
Is this the same plane as Tailspin, Disney's Tailspin?
I think it's what inspires Tailspin.
Yeah.
Let's take a look.
I can't remember the name of the pilot in Tailspin. It was a duck of some kind.
Was it?
Yeah, shout out to anyone who remembers Tailspin, which was a 90s era afternoon cartoon. No, I thought it was Baloo too, but I'm pretty sure it's not. I have this memory of a duck with goggles and a leather flying jacket.
Okay, I got Baloo as a pilot. I've got...
is there a duck that I remember?
Rebecca Cunningham, also a bear.
This isn't going well for me.
This is not going well.
Come on, I can't be crazy. What am I thinking of then?
I don't know. I'm going to Control F duck. DuckTales? Are you thinking of DuckTales?
Yeah, well, I'm always thinking of DuckTales, but was there a pilot in DuckTales?
I don't think there's a single duck in Tailspin.
Wow, that's so weird.
There's a whole list here about the air pirates is what they're called in this show.
Air piracy feels like a really ambitious form of piracy. You have to be on the ball. Okay, let's stop talking about Tailspin and get on to the cars that we're talking about this week. Sami, I'm talking about a car that caught me by surprise in a good way, but it also had me thinking about, I guess, how starved we are for just competent vehicles. That's something that is completely... a vehicle that is not a performance car, not an enthusiast car, and doesn't particularly push any boundaries can still be really, really good. I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I also want to add that it's not an SUV, which is kind of the icing on the cake for me. And that is the 2026 Honda Accord Hybrid. I drove the touring trim, which is the top trim. And in fact, there are 5 different versions of the hybrid of the Accord, depending on where you live. In Canada, there's only 4, but in the US, they have in Canada, it starts at SE, and that's the only gas model that you can buy. But there is in the US, there's an LE, I believe, that tucks in underneath that. So those are both with a turbo 4-cylinder engine. After that, the 3 models on top are all hybrid. So there's a Sport L, there's a Touring Hybrid. Oh, I'm sorry, I misspoke. That the SE was available in Canada until last year. Last year was the final year for it. No, I'm not making any sense. I said SE already. Let's start again.
Sure.
Canada has 3 trims available for 2026, even though Honda says there are 4, because they're including last year's 2025 SE.
Confused.
Very confusing. In the United States.
I mean, why doesn't every automaker just include last year's trims in their listing of cars?
In the US, there's like an EX, an SE, an EXL, a Sport L, and a Touring.
And hybrids?
No. Sport EXL, Sport L, and Touring are hybrids. Yeah. And then there's 2 others. There's the SE and I guess the EX. And those are gas only. That's really
interesting that there's more hybrids than there are. I mean, they clearly want you to spend more money on cars, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot more hybrids. In Canada, it's odd because there's only 2 hybrids. I think it's because the EX trim
is one of them last year's?
The EX trim doesn't exist at all. So there's no EXL, which I guess is like a multi-featured hybrid model. And Canada gets rid of the regular Sport. So this is something you see a lot in... People are probably tuning out by now, but in Canada, when you have...
If they didn't tune out during the tailspin conversation, they're here for the long haul, man.
Canada tends to have high trim versions of a particular model more than cheap versions of a particular model if you're already on the high side of things. So like we used to be the other way around. You used to be able to get like really low featured cars in Canada. Like you used to be able to get cars without air conditioning, which was impossible in the United States.
That's insane too.
I think starting in the 2010s, there were no cars in the US that had no air conditioning, but you could come to Canada and get like not an Echo, but a Yaris from Toyota that had like no air conditioning and roll up windows and stuff. I had one time during a heat wave. I could not drive it. It was just an absolute oven. But Canada has kind of moved towards the opposite thing now, where instead of offering 6 trims like you get in the States, instead there are 3 trims and they are the highest spec versions of each. So there's the SE for gas and then Sport L and Touring. And the L is just like the Sport with more features so they can sell it for more money. But it's still a really affordable car. In the US, the base hybrid is 35 grand. The top spec is 41. In Canada, the base hybrid is 46,000 Canadian, and then the top spec is 49. That's still pretty cheap for a mid-size family car with all of the bells and whistles. It's in fact the average transaction price for Canadian vehicles, which is something we harp on incessantly on this podcast. Yeah.
We shouldn't, but it is an insane metric. Like we shouldn't have to say that because that's wild. And that's the reason we bring it up. To me, and I think that like that number has gone up by like 20 grand over the past 10 years or something, right?
Yeah, it's a huge increase. I think if you were even to look over the last 5 years, you probably look at like at least a 30% increase in average transactions.
I think especially after COVID. I don't know what happened to people's like
inflation
I do know what and long COVID happened.
Insane inflation, basically, and bad supply chain issues. On the plus side, there are no options for this car. The options that you get are paint colors. Mine had a $500 radiant metallic red paint. Shout out to a car that's red that's not a Mazda. It's pretty rare these days. You can also get a bunch of accessories. So if you want floor mats and trunk protectors and that kind of thing, but there's nothing else. Like once you get the Touring, you have all the features that are available with the Accord. So there's no real hidden fees here.
Okay.
Now, Sami,
I want to go back to you've gone so quickly into this conversation.
I didn't think it was quick at all. I think I meandered. No.
Well, you stumbled a bit, but you've gone so quickly in this conversation where you described it as we were starved for a competent car that is not sporty, that is not a crossover, that is just like good in a number of ways that are what's the word, like undefined. Is that the best way to describe it?
No,
like,
the word I'm going to use to describe the Accord and what I was building up to is NORMCORE. This is the most NORMCORE sedan that's out there. There's no performance version. I mean, the word sport doesn't mean anything in the context of this. It's just a trim.
No. Just like the word turbo lost meaning after a while, now I think sport is also losing meaning.
So the Accord looks fine. It looks absolutely fine, but it is the definition of what you would have a child draw if you ask them to draw a car. It is a basic sedan with pleasing proportions and a sloping rear deck. And other than that, it is completely unremarkable. I think it looks good, but it's not, the styling is not why you buy this car. And then you get inside of it and it is even more NORMCORE. Everything is black.
Yeah.
It has that electric razor shaver kind of grill across the dashboard.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only color.
I think that's, so do you like that electric razor style grill?
It's
or
fine.
Did you like
I don't care.
The weird honeycomb pattern that's found on the Civic and HRV?
Well, this is very much like the Civic. It's the same kind of deal to me. I don't see much of a difference. But I mention it because it's the only color inside the vehicle other than the infotainment screen. So you get in the car and it's like, bam, here's your NORMCORE dad bod vehicle.
Yeah.
But I say all of this and have no problem with it because it just works. Like everything about this car satisfies someone who wants a commuter that has decent backseat space and excellent fuel mileage and is comfortable. All of those things are accurate about the Accord. It is just that good. And if you look around the market, there are only 2 other hybrid sedans left in its class.
There's the Sonata from Hyundai and the Toyota Camry from Toyota.
Exactly. And I think all the Camrys are hybrids now.
I think that's correct. Yeah.
The only real difference is that the Camry has the option of all-wheel drive, which the Accord does not. Mm-hmm. But can
you get a Sonata all-wheel drive? I think you can with a gas model.
You might be able to. But it's such a shrunken segment, right? And even if you were to look at non-hybrids, what else is there? Does Kia have a car in this segment right now?
It used to be called the K5, and before that it was called the Optima.
But I think that's gone. I think the K5 is gone.
gone.
And then you look at General Motors, they kind of still have the Malibu, but it's a zombie car. It's a car from the past.
Now that's a car that should have the wrong model year attached to it, right?
I don't know if it's still available for this model year, but I do know it was last year.
Wow.
That's not a bad car, but it's not at all competitive.
That is not a good car, man.
It's not competitive with a modern midsize. Ford has nothing. Nissan has the Altima, but not in Canada. You can't get it in Canada. Yeah, it's no longer available.
You can't get it zero in Canada and being sold in the US.
I tried to book one and I was told it's discontinued in Canada. And then I said, okay, is it coming back in 2027? And they said it's discontinued in Canada. I'm like, all right, you told me twice. So you can currently get it in the United States. So that's 2 other vehicles?
Has its expiration date been does it have an expiration date in the US? Do you know yet?
No idea. I didn't reach out to American PR about it.
How interesting.
There's no Passat anymore, right? There's just a Jetta.
Yeah.
And so that pretty much takes care of everyone. But it doesn't matter because if you want this car, you want to buy the Accord. The Accord is really good. It's really good at being a totally NORMCORE car. I mean, there's space inside. There's space in the trunk. It's easy to park. I got 5.3 liters per 100 kilometers no matter how I drove the car.
What is that, 40 miles per gallon?
44 miles per gallon, which is the exact match for its rating.
I hate you and how you do this every episode.
Sammy, I even did a Ferris Bueller thing where I jacked up the front end and just ran it at full throttle, trying to get worse fuel mileage so that you would be proud of me. Yeah. And I was unable to do that.
I appreciate the effort that you go to for me. I'm always really on the sedan train, but I think that occasionally the SUVs seem to be I think the development cycles of the SUVs are much quicker than the sedans because I think they can probably make more money on them. And so as a result, there's always these ebbs and flows of the sedan design and the features and the technology. And it always feels like something like the Accord or the Sonata or the Camry, until they get a complete redesign, are kind of like a afterthought in the entire portfolio.
This doesn't really seem like an afterthought, except perhaps in the way that its interior is so unadorned.
That's what I was going to say. I think when you discuss, because Honda isn't known for having the most like eye-popping design, interior and exterior designs, or even like the most wildest technology in their vehicles, but they tend to push the envelope when it comes to like infotainment like support. They were one of the first automakers, I think, to use an Android-based OS, and has like a Play Store or whatever in it, without like pushing you to constantly sign into your car.
Well, I guess I have two responses to that. The infotainment system is good in this car. Mm-hmm. It has all of the base models have a 9-inch screen, but once you get to the hybrids, you're pretty much into, I think it's 12.3 inches or something like that. There's a great gauge cluster as well. It looks good. The information
love that gauge cluster. It almost looks like an analog gauge cluster at times.
Yeah, but
it's like OLED kind of. It's like super deep in terms of its like color.
The only disappointing thing about it is on the left side of the only information you can show is like infotainment related. Oh. So instead of a lot of gauge clusters now, you can put what you want to see where you want to see it, and you could choose different displays and whatever. Like, but Honda really segregates them, so it's like right side of the gauge cluster is vehicle information, and the left side is like infotainment stuff or phone stuff or like Alexa stuff if you use Alexa in your car. But it looks good. It does look very good. The other thing though about what you're saying, we're talking about interiors and how this is a NORMCORE interior. In the past, I would have been able to say, if you want something more, buy a TLX, but you can't do that anymore.
No.
They're gone as of last year. So Honda's in this weird situation where this is their go-to
sedan,
flagship sedan, I guess, because Acura only sells the Integra, and their only other sedan on the Honda side is the Civic. So this is the largest sedan you can buy from Honda. Mm-hmm. And they've chosen not to make it. You can get kind of flashier interiors in the Camry, but Honda has chosen a different path.
And you can flashier exteriors on a Camry too. And then like there's the whole, I think the Sonatas are really like cool look. It's an interesting looking car. Like
that's the car you get if you want a fashion forward midsize. There's decent power in this car. It's 204 horsepower and 247 pound-feet of torque. Honda uses a unique hybrid system. Instead of having pretty much all of your motivation comes from an electric motor. There's 2 electric motors in the car. One of them is a generator, and one of them is for locomotion. The generator fills the battery and sends some power to the other electric motor when you're driving. Almost all of your driving below a certain speed, like around town or just regular, I guess, I don't have an exact number, but anytime you'd be pulling away from a stop, for example, you're always on the electric motor. This isn't to say that the gas motor doesn't turn on, because the gas motor is there to provide power to spin that generator to charge up the battery. The gas motor, however, only provides locomotion at highway speeds. So there's a clutch that will lock it in. And Honda has done this because they've determined that the engine is at its most efficient when it's revving at a certain like higher speed versus kind of going up and down all the time. So there's a side effect of this that's really interesting when you're in the car. And that's on some hybrids, when the gas engine kicks on, you know it automatically right away because it's involved in the drivetrain. You'll feel it in the gas pedal, or maybe it kicks on at a stoplight or something. Yep. And you do feel that connection with the drivetrain.
You hear it too. Yeah.
You hear it. So in the Honda, you almost never know when the engine is running unless you're specifically listening to it, because when it does turn on, it's not connected to the drivetrain. It's just doing its generator thing. So like it'll be running in the background, but it doesn't have that kick that you would expect. And it's nice. It's a nice way to, I guess, smooth out the experience.
I remember when we first started, like, I think when the discussion about gas-powered, gasoline motors acting like generators for electric motors first started entering the conversation around the Volt, I think, and some other, they call them now extended range EVs, right?
Well, extended range hybrids. I mean...
Yeah, sorry.
That's not what this is, just to be clear.
No, it's just because it doesn't have a plug, right?
Well, it doesn't have a battery that's large enough to operate the vehicle on electric power only. It will do it. Let's say you're in a parking lot and you're kind of like prowling around for a spot. Remember I had the Crosstrek hybrid a few months ago or a month ago, and
Mhm.
I said it never went into EV mode ever unless I was coasting down a hill.
Yeah.
So the Honda is aggressive about entering
Yeah.
hybrid mode, and it will do it, but it doesn't. You can't like drive up to like 35 miles an hour as an EV. It's just not a thing.
But I always thought that there was this discussion way early on about how efficient a gas motor would be at being the generator for some electric motors or battery. And it seems like we've reached that stage much quicker than I think a lot of people thought would be possible.
Well,
And
it's a weird thing, right? Because all gasoline is a way to store energy in a dense medium, right? So gasoline is more energy dense than battery cells.
Mhm.
So when you have an engine that's operating as a generator, it's only there to take advantage of the density of gasoline. And then you have to start asking, like, I don't know the details of this, but if you're an engineer, you start to ask questions like, what are the weight benefits and side effects of using a gas engine as a generator versus just putting a big battery in this and making it an EV?
Right. I remember my experience with the Accord hybrid being really positive, especially with the smoothness of that powertrain. Just as you mentioned, you never really notice it coming on and off, and it is so aggressive about turning it on or off. Like not a lot of other hybrids do that. They usually stay on for like a moment. What feels like a moment longer. It's just like gauge. It's like feeling you out to be like, are you going to need this? Are you going to need this? Are you going to need this? While the Honda Accord always seems to be like, no, stop it. Turn that off. Like, you don't need this right now.
It has enough power too. It's not quick, but it never felt slow. It just felt fine.
200 horsepower is good enough. Yeah.
And it's the torque, it's because the torque is coming from an electric motor. And when that happens, you get it right away. So it's a bonus. All in all, I really like this vehicle. I would recommend it to people because it drives much better than any SUV out there at a similar price point. It's just going to be a better handler. This is an incredibly smooth vehicle, and it's a good size. You don't have to worry about parking it. It fits everywhere you want to go, even though it's a mid-sized car. The trunk space is decent. It has 60/40 I can't say that. 60/40 folding rear seat. Okay. And that's going to let you take care of, longer items. But I found the trunk opening was wider than some SUVs that I have driven. So that was impressive as well. Overall, very positive impression. I can't believe I'm kind of gushing about a NORMCORE car, but I like the idea of a NORMCORE car that isn't cynical and isn't trying to cut corners and doesn't have a cheap feeling. They could have just phoned in the Accord and said, buy a CRV instead,
Yeah.
And they didn't do that. This is a legitimate contender that would go up against any SUV, any two-row SUV in the Honda lineup and make a good case as to why you should choose it instead.
I think one of the craziest thing about it is that the CRV, you said, is not cynical. The CRV is one of the hardest cars for me to totally
I said the Accord is not cynical.
Sorry, the Accord is not cynical. And I think it's so easy for people to just look at a CRV and be like, yeah, that's the one. But the CRV is not NORMCORE. It is bland. It is absolutely boring. It is an appliance in a way that somehow the Accord can like avoid that label slightly, I think.
It doesn't feel like an appliance. It really doesn't.
It truly is like an appliance. It's a hybrid.
It's a commuting appliance for sure.
Yeah.
But it's one that manages to mask that just by being so competent.
It's crazy. Yeah.
You never feel like, oh man, I really wish I'd bought something else, because it's just good enough at what it does where you're like, yeah, this fills the brief. I knew what I was getting into when I got this.
The issue is, of course, that somebody will always ask you, what will it take for the consumer to say a sedan is the right one for me rather than a do everything crossover?
I mean, fuel economy right away.
Yeah.
Fuel economy, I think, because it's lighter and it's more aerodynamic.
And I've always struggled. I mean, I struggle to hit fuel mileage on all the test cars lately, but the CRV in particular, the hybrid, used to be reserved for the top trims. They've changed that, I think, in recent years. But the mileage is actually really difficult to maximize.
I'm sure it's heavier for sure because it's probably all-wheel drive, which means additional complications, and it's taller, more glass, all this stuff. The other reason I think is it's just easier to park and it's more comfortable on the road in a lot of ways. So
Cool.
That's kind of all I have to say about the Accord. I know, Sammy, you have a comparison this week, which is interesting and unexpected.
Yeah, this is a follow-up to the Mitsubishi Outlander Plug-in Hybrid that you reviewed a really short while ago. And you described that car to me as, you said a number of very positive things about the Mitsubishi Outlander Plug-in Hybrid. And I listened to you, and I thought, there's no way.
You thought Ben is so wrong.
No, but I thought maybe it is and look, we all drive cars. Sometimes we drive cars that are excellent in a vacuum by themselves. When you don't consider the value of of the competition, the performance of the competition, the size, the space, the refinement, something that is so difficult to translate from a spec sheet, the refinement of a car to one another. It's insane to believe that Mitsubishi has carved this out for itself. So I booked one. I got as well a Kia Sportage, which I think is the best rival for the Outlander. I'll explain for a minute in a minute. And I decided to see how the two compared. Here's the situation: the Outlander plug-in hybrid is one of the few 3-row plug-in hybrids in the mainstream segment. Okay. The issue is that third. I'm going to knock this out of the way immediately. The third row is superfluous. It has half the legroom as the second row, and that's in best case scenario. You cannot buy this thing thinking that third row will be up 90% of the time, because in addition to having no legroom, it also seriously cuts into the rear seat cargo space, cuts it down by over half, the rear cargo space. So I think in reality, we've talked about how 3-row vehicles typically, like ones like the Highlander or something, or would tend to have the third row kind of folded for the majority of the time. This car is like the ultimate expression of that. It is an occasional use third row. I think it's best described as a 5+2 seater. I think that's the way that one of my colleagues has described it, and I like that. And that is the major thing that we have to talk about.
Well, we have talked about
that we have to ensure that this gets out of the way, because to me, that is the biggest criticism about this Outlander. And it's one that is easily ignorable, because you can just fold that, and the hit to cargo space is not that big.
Although if you did not have that seat back there, you would have so much more cargo space, because you would have that deep well accessible at all times instead of just when the seat is up.
I'm going to double check the Rogue. I think the Rogue, we should take a look at the Rogue's cargo space and see what that is.
Well, the Rogue has 3 rows as well.
It does?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
The Rogue is identical to the
I thought the Rogue did not have a third row.
No, I'm pretty sure it does.
Now
the biggest difference between the Outlander and the Rogue is that the Rogue does not have DC fast charging. This is a single model year plug-in Rogue.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to talk about... Yeah, well, I guess we have to talk about the plug-in. I don't have a third row in this, do I? Look at this. Anyways, everything else that we talked about with the Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid is such a surprise. It bothers me that we got caught off guard with how much they've improved the Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid. In every way that it had a red flag, they've smoothed that over. We used to say, okay, the range is okay. Now it's got 45 miles of range, 72 kilometers of range, and is like excellent when it comes to that. The thing that I used to find really frustrating with the plug-in hybrid before the redesign, the recent redesign or refresh, I used to feel that it was a little bit less refined, and that meant that I found the suspension a little bit crashy. I found the motor to be a little bit like buzzy, and now I'm finding that the motor doesn't come on that often because we've got that much more range, And I'm finding the suspension significantly smoother and the ride pretty good too. And so I was so puzzled. How could Mitsubishi knock this out? And then I drove this Kia Sportage plug-in hybrid. Now here's the story with this Kia Sportage plug-in hybrid.
Yeah, you said earlier that you thought this was the best match, and I'm curious as to why you think that.
Yeah, Kia has
versus like a Sorento, which actually does have 3 rows.
The Kia has two options here. The 3-row Sorento, which again has a kid-friendly 3rd row, more kid-friendly than the.
It's a class above vehicle in terms of size, and I believe price-wise, the plug-in hybrid matches the top-tier trim price of the Outlander.
Yeah, but that's like a very. You can get a couple of different trim levels of the Sorento plug-in hybrid, and I just think that like. There was something else about it too. It's more of a 6-seater than it is a 7-seater. Was my experience with the Sorento as well, and the performance. I think that, as I mentioned with the Outlander, the majority of the time you're probably going to have those rear seats folded down because they're not that functional.
I mean, that's true of every 3-row crossover, right?
So that's what I'm saying.
Most people don't use those seats. If you truly need 7 passengers, you buy a van or you buy a full-size SUV.
Yes, and now they're full-size crossovers, I guess you can call them, things like the Palisade or Telluride or
but even
Traverse
then,
or something.
I would really love to see how many people actually use the 3rd row in a Palisade on a regular basis. I think it's rare.
Yeah, so
I think these are vehicles that grandparents buy when the grandkids are visiting. That really, I think, is the target market for a large portion of 3-row crossovers.
I will say with the Grand Highlander, I was able to put a rear-facing car seat in there, which
you would never do that to your child, though.
No, it wasn't my child, thank goodness. But
just a child you found.
Yeah, it was a friend. I don't know. Anyways, I think that the Sportage is the better pick because we're looking at a compact crossover in terms of like wheelbase, in terms of pricing, and I think that the Sportage fits a little bit better. Here's the specs, how they line up. You've got a 1.6 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine as well as one electric motor. There's a 13.8 kilowatt hour battery. Combined, this powertrain has 268 horsepower, which is 20 horsepower more than the Mitsubishi Outlander, but did not feel much better in any way. I think that's my major concern about this extra power that it had. And then the mileage that I had, about 33 miles of range. So that's 13 miles less than what you would get in the Outlander.
And that's disappointing because theoretically, without the 3rd row seat, it's lighter and it has more room for a larger battery, right?
I guess that's a great way to put it, but yeah, if they can just get all that going.
It's not like Mitsubishi has some magic formula here. It's physics.
Yeah, you know? I guess so. So the other thing to mention is that the Sportage has a very mild improvement in terms of rear seat space. In particular, rear seat legroom is I would say about let's see here, 50 millimeters is quite a lot actually. 50 millimeter to inches is about 2 inches of more legroom than the Outlander. So that's.
Did you notice that the Outlander was lacking?
Like, no, I didn't have that big of an issue. I put my rear-facing car seat in there in the 2nd row, and I found it to be pretty easy to accommodate. Even
I didn't feel like when I was back there that there was that I was somehow cramped.
And then the space difference is really minute, in my opinion. I will say that the difference, 100 liter difference when the 3rd row is folded down of the Outlander compared to the rear seat, behind the rear seats space in the Sportage. 100 liters is quite a bit. So you notice that the most in terms of the depth of the cargo space, but I think it's okay. I don't think it's that big of a difference. That's about 3.5 cubic feet. Okay, when you fold down all the rows in both cars, the difference is much smaller. It's a difference of 20 liters, which is like imperceptible. It's less than a cubic foot. So I think that, I mean, sure, you're right to be disappointed in if the Outlander just didn't have that third row. To me, I think it's the other way around. I think they're trying to make a Swiss Army car.
I wish it was just an option though. Like, why not let me
That's
choose,
a great idea,
right?
Yeah. I guess when we see this, I would be surprised to see how the sales figures of this 1 year Rogue happen. I guess dealer like availability will be a huge part of that. And what the sales split is between the Outlander PHEV, which is available in a ton of different trim levels and stuff.
Yeah, and they've been, pushing it as the 3-row, the only 3-row compact plug-in for like a decade now.
Yeah, at least.
And it used to suck. We talked about that in the last podcast.
It used to be awful.
To be bad. So what do you say? What's your conclusion here with this Sportage?
I think I would rather have the extended range of this Mitsubishi Outlander. I didn't even talk about the cabin differences. I have top trims of both of them, and I'm in love with the attention to detail. How weird is it to talk about the attention to detail in a Mitsubishi Outlander? It has beautiful stitched accents. It has really good, like, knurled, I think that's the term, like textured knobs. And it's got a very good, like, infotainment system and digital gauge cluster. It has a ton of options in terms of drive modes, and
it verges on the ridiculous when you're talking about
a little bit too many. The Sportage has a bunch as well, including a My mode, which allows you to put the powertrain into a baby mode, which I've mentioned in the past, doesn't really do anything.
Well, maybe if you were a baby, you would notice the difference.
Maybe that's the problem. I'm leaning towards recommending the Outlander plug-in hybrid over this Sportage plug-in hybrid. I think the ultimate test will be the RAV4 now. The plug-in version of the RAV4 will be the true test of how good the Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid.
What's the price difference between those, though?
Let's take a look. I think that's a great idea.
Because historically, the RAV4 has been a pricey vehicle.
Has not been cheap, no.
The other aspect of the RAV4 is availability. It's been hard to get plug-in versions of the RAV4. It's the most powerful and I think the most popular version of the vehicle, especially here in Canada when we had extensive rebates on plug-ins. It was really, really difficult to lock down. The inventories just didn't exist. So I could see that pushing people towards the Outlander as well, which has no such, it's more of in Quebec where I live, there are a lot of Outlanders because it was very economical and we tend to buy affordable vehicles here. But I know that's not the case everywhere in terms of its popularity.
On the entry level side of things, there's a price difference for the of about $3,000 between the RAV4 plug-in and the Mitsubishi Outlander. We're saying the RAV4 is about $3,000 more expensive.
Okay.
Range topping models, there's a really, and this is in Canada. In range topping models, there's a weird $63,000 version of the Outlander plug-in hybrid, which includes all these like blacked out elements, like they call it the Noir, and the GR Sport all-wheel drive version of the RAV4 is cheaper by $3,000. So I'll take a look at the US ones too, and let's see if those price differences still.
So that GR model, it doesn't necessarily, does it give you extra performance at all?
I haven't done my research on
it's
this.
not important. It's not important.
I think it might. So starts at 41,000 in the US. That's the RAV4. While
I think that's very close to what the Mitsubishi starts at.
Yeah, the Mitsubishi is more expensive, 43,000.
So that's at this point you have to start looking at.
That's tough.
You have to start looking at equipment because Toyota famously not great at equipping their entry.
Yeah, I mean, they
models.
have these models. I don't know if our listeners have ever heard about the SE model. SE models are usually not well equipped. They're not usually good looking cars because they strip out all the exterior features as well. So I would say that would make a huge difference as well. So still, it's very rare for Mitsubishi to be competitive with Toyota, which is, I mean, a class leader, especially when it comes to the crossover segment. Plug-in hybrid is a vulnerable spot, and I think we're seeing it now with how I don't want to say lackadaisical, but how the Sportage plug-in hybrid is just it's an okay plug-in hybrid compared to the hybrid version of the Sportage, which is actually pretty good. It just feels crazy that Mitsubishi has kind of outclassed them in a couple of ways in terms of battery size, in terms of performance, because you really feel that 332 pound-feet of torque, which is really impressive out of the Outlander. And it just does not capitalize on some of the potential deficiencies that the Outlander offers, which is, I think, really, really impressive.
Is there anything else you want to say about these two vehicles?
No, I think this might be one of the few times that Mitsubishi in recent memory has won a comparison.
Well, to wrap things up on the show, I just wanted to mention we got a note from Neil who wrote in to tell us that they bought a Subaru Uncharted GT. And congratulations. It's a vehicle I'm very curious about. I have both a Uncharted GT and a Trail Seeker booked for later in the summer. I have not driven them yet. Sammy, have you driven the Uncharted?
I have not driven the Uncharted yet, but I do have it booked for late summer to compare against an EV5.
And Neil mentioned that they were surprised because Toyota has been so anti-EV. They're surprised by how good the Subaru Uncharted is because it's a platform share with Toyota. One thing they mentioned though is we talked about the EV4 a few weeks ago.
Yes,
and we both really liked it. Neil says that they didn't test drive it, but they found the rear seats to be rock hard. I don't remember that being the case in the vehicle that I drove. It could be a trim level thing. I didn't spend a lot of time in the back, but I did sit back there. Sammy, do you remember that?
I remember them being very spacious. I remember them having an incredible recline to them.
Yeah,
like
there's
almost
a lot of recline there.
Uncomfortable looking, like lean on them. But I don't recall the seat back or the seat bottom being particularly thin.
But anyway, congratulations to Neil again. Got a good price on
Uncharted.
Canadian price on the Uncharted, and I am quite curious to drive that vehicle. And also, thank you for the kind words about the podcast. We're glad that you enjoy it and that you have as much fun as we do.
And we can't wait to drive our Uncharted and see how it compares to a Kia, especially with the rear seats like back to back. I'm really stoked about that kind of.
Yeah, it's I've got a lot of EVs coming this summer. It's kind of an electric summer for me. I realize I'm doing it after gas prices have gone down again, so like I didn't time that. I didn't time that very well, but what can you do, Sammy? If people want to write into us and tell us about their recent purchases as well, how can they do that?
I recommend they hit us up on the website. Go to unnamedautomotivepodcast.com. There's a contact form there. You fill it out. It lands in our inbox. We read it to each other. It's great. Additionally, you can email us. The address is benjamin@benjaminhunting.com. He also reads those emails to me, which are very nice. Yes, that's true. Additionally, you can reach out to us. I think Instagram is the best social media website you can or social media service you can get in touch with us.
Well, for Sammy, I'm not really on Instagram anymore.
I'm at Sammy_ha, like you're laughing. Maybe you can find Ben on Blue Sky then?
That's where I am.
At Hunting Benjamin.
That's right. Yeah, I uninstalled the Instagram app. I don't have it anymore. I go on the web every once in a while just to check messages and stuff. So, Sammy, what are you going to be driving next week?
I've got a Bronco Sport, I believe.
Which kind of Bronco Sport?
I don't have a Bronco. Sorry, I don't have a Bronco Sport.
Whoa, you got me.
I have another Expedition. This time the King Ranch, baby.
Okay, wow.
My ranch is going to be royal.
I am driving the Dodge Charger 6-pack, the 2-door.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, with the twin turbo 6. So that's a whole lot of stuff to talk about.
I can't wait to talk about that. That's brilliant. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.